my dear friend Magnus Borelius and his colleague Sara Pettersson from the city of Gothenburg. You may know that Sweden is the 13th or 14th largest bond issuer in the world, but you might not know that they're the number 6th green bond issuer in the world, and part of that leadership comes from Gothenburg's pioneering efforts to become the first city to issue a green bond, setting a role model for others who have followed. Paris, Oslo, we heard about Mexico City, Johannesburg, and this is a role model for many cities around the world as they seek to access climate finance and private capital. Speakers are being prepared, and I'd like to welcome to the stage Magnus Borelius and Sara Pettersson.
So, thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me here to speak at this Climate Kick conference here about the city of Gothenburg. My name is Magnus Borelius, and I'm head of treasury for the city, and Sara, my colleague here.
Hello. Yeah, it's working. I'm Sara Pettersson. I work as an officer for urban development. So I come from the environmental side. I'm on the green side of the green bonds.
So, yeah, so I'm the finance guy, as we all understand, and 3 years ago we changed the role of our treasury function in the city in that way, because we changed the way we raise funds. And that's where we started to issue green bonds. It's basically earmarked money or proceeds for climate-friendly investments in that way. And it was not a strategical decision at that way. It wasn't something that we had been thinking about for years. It was just something that at that point felt right to do. And when we did that, we became the first city in the world to do it. And when you're first in the world with something that you do, there's not much to follow, or you don't even know how to ask. There's not something, piece of paper to take out from the library and see you have to do this and this and that. So you have to sort of invent it you by yourself, together with a lot of very intelligent friends in the banking system, investors and so on. But you get the opportunity to sort of also shape the market in that way. And I think one of the key to success here is that Treasury and the colleagues at the Sustainability Department work together. That's one of the main things that you really always have to think about, and most important for success. And my background is 100% finance. I've been for a financial newspaper, I've been as a stockbroker, and then I ended up here in the city of Gothenburg. I don't know anything about sustainability in that way, and that is not also my role to be an expert in the sustainability sector. It's very, very important that I have colleagues like Sara here that are experts in the sustainability. My role is to be an expert in the finance sector in that way. And that was one of the mistakes that we did the first time. Because if you're in finance, you think you are the center of the universe, you know everything. So when we started with this, we started to do everything by ourselves. Try to take the documentation, everything, rewrite it, do it. But then we realized that experts like Sara, they have all the documentations. It's more or less of a game to scale it down to see what the investors really want to know. And when we started to understand that, we started to run really, really fast, because one of my opinions here is that when you take to the table both the Treasury and the Sustainability Department, something happens, because they don't compete with each other. So when they sort of find the way to race together, you move really, really fast in that way. And well, this ended up in the city of Gothenburg. It's quite a large company group in that way. You know, we have our own amusement park. We have the largest port in Scandinavia. We have a strong rating in that way, AAA rated by Moody's. So, and a history in the bond market since the 90s. So we don't really have any main target to issue green bonds in that way, because money is always there for us for the moment. Cheap money is there. So why bother? Why bother to do this extra thing with adding sustainability to the money, instead of just go to the market, lend the money, borrow the money, and then just give it back when the loan matures and pay the interest rate? Why bother doing all these other kinds of stuff that's around it? And that was one of the first questions actually that we received when we did this, because there wasn't that much fuss in the beginning. Why do you do it? And what is it? And I think key to success is
Yeah, this is why do we issue green bonds, and what are the key to do success in that field? I think one of the most important things Magnus just mentioned, but first and all, I think the key to Gothenburg is that we had done on our environmental homework before. We've had working with environmental issues for many years in the beginning because we had to. It was quite a polluted area. We had trouble with air and air quality and things like that. We still have issues to address, of course. We all do, that's why we're still here. But the most important thing is to actually have environmental objectives, to have your environmental strategies in place, and we had them before Magnus came running with his crazy ideas. So these objectives, these strategies, is the fundamental environmental work, and this is what makes our city take environmental decisions, and also that is what is going to make us do green investments. And I think that also a key for us is that even more so in the early days, I mean, green bond is a very simple tool. It's kind of a neutral tool. It's a tool that you can come together and sit both the financial department and the environmental department and discuss. There's no obvious you lose, I win. In that case, it's very easy to sit down and discuss, and it's also the same way it's easy for us as a city to sit down with the investors to discuss. It's been a very open discussion, very much both sides, both in this collaboration, but also in the collaboration between the city and as an issuer and the investor. Very open-hearted discussion on how to move forward. So that has been an important part of this. And it's also, I think that for a lot of people working with it, it's been very interesting and been very to gain a lot of new knowledge and feeling the momentum of change. Yeah, and as I've been talking about that, in the beginning when it was all new, and it's still very new, a certain amount of trust is needed, and with the trust, I think also it's important to be very transparent, and as a municipality, transparency is part of what we do. It's the legislation of being a municipality. We have to be transparent, and therefore that part is not difficult for us. We love to share everything, and if we don't share it, will come to tell us to share it anyway. So that has also been a very important part, especially since there are not many regulations and standards for this area so far. I think to be transparent of what you do and what you aim to achieve is important in every step. And also, I think that it also is important that this tool brings an increased focus on sustainable issues and also on sustainable investments being done. Our projects in this city, the investments that we make in our green bond portfolio, it's a chance for them to be seen from different stakeholders that they usually don't reach, and this new information can also start new collaborations and new, I don't know, innovations, I think. So I just want to make some examples of the investments that we may have in our green bond portfolio to make it a little bit more substantial. These are pictures from our investments in the portfolio right now. As you see, we have everything from trams to trees and bicycle infrastructure. We have traffic lighting, energy efficiency in traffic lighting, and we have Go by Gas, which is part of the afternoon program, and we also have sustainable housing and energy efficient schools and preschools.
So, financing a sustainable future in this way, and this is what we call in the finance industry a tombstone in that way, and that is sort of a, call it a bragging picture in that way, that you normally use when you large issuance in the private sector, that investors want to tell the world that we have invested in this project, we have contributed to this. This never happens in the municipality finance, that you want to tell someone that you have been a part of a transaction in that way, because it's very low interest rate in a municipality, related to municipality. Sometimes we even get paid in the market, and it's not that much risk in it as well. But I think this symbolizes the cooperation here between all the players in this. It's the issuer, it is the investors, and it's also the intermediaries here, that they all want to take part of this and show the rest of the world in that way that we are a part of this, that we want to finance this. And what we saw here in the beginning that we didn't really calculate it with or know was that we reached out to new investors that didn't bought our bonds before, that we never seen in our books before. So we sort of widened our investor base in that way. We saw Swedish investors, international investors coming to the book, and also that they wanted to be public in that way. We also received calls from citizens here in Gothenburg that called us to the Treasury Department and asked, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of financing a green city in that way. And that was also new to us, the citizens calling and saying, hey, we want to give us your money. And unfortunately, we can't do that to citizens because we are just approaching the institutional market, the financial institutional markets in that way. But what we have seen since then is that the banking industry now have a green bond funds that you also can go and invest your money in if you like to. And that also means that you have sort of starting reputational risks here, because when someone puts their company name next to the city's name here, something happens, because we must deliver what we say we shall do in that way. Otherwise, well, it will hurt everyone that's involved here. And when also the private persons or putting their savings in, there's also interesting what happens in the city with the environmental program. So this chain here, the money starts to do something more than just financing the projects in that way. And the farthest way we have reached out is actually a shop owner in South Africa that wanted to be a part of this green bond program as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't even offer him the chance there, but we know that South Africa have issued green bonds, so we could help him with the contacts there in that way. So we also see here that the credibility and transparency here is extremely important, and also an increased focus on it, since we now are public with everything we do in this way. People start to look at the finance sustainability in a completely different way. We also see that the contact with the investors have changed, because prior to this, or when we have an ordinary bond, the investors are just interested in facts and figures in that way. But now they start to be very, very interesting what happens in the environmental program, the environmental sector, since we must report back what we do in that way. So we have changed it when we have our investor relation activities. We are from the Treasury Department and the Sustainability Department. So once again, working together here is the key to success, because I'm not the one being the expert in the sustainability, and Sara's not going to be expert in the finance. We have to sort of work together even here. And they also want to visit the sites, like you going to do this afternoon here. The investors want to go there, see that this is actually built. They don't talk, they just also do here. And I think it's also there, the most important is to trust each other so you don't step into each other's area, because it's so easy here to just try to move into the sustainability area if you are a finance guy. It starts to look quite interesting, it's a lot of focus on it, but stay on track here all the time. And what we are seeing here, being first, it also means that you don't really know what you should do. You're quite confused in the beginning. But if you have that courage, it also opens up for many opportunities, and you can also be highly rewarded here, as Sara will tell you more about.
As Anna mentioned, of course we are very proud to receive a couple of awards, and one of them were from WWF, and I don't know if you know about the fact that they have a world, what do you call it, city challenge, and it's a global competition, and in 2015 we won the national title, and working with the green bonds, of course, we were very proud to read the jury's motivation, as proud as we are of the fact that we actually include of course the consumption in our goals. I say, looking at Svante, is working very closely to that part of our climate strategy. And 2015 is also the year of the historical Paris Agreement. Maybe you will remember that year more for that agreement and the fact that we won this award. But I think it was also a year with a great breakthrough for green bonds and green financial. It's one of the years when it still goes really up, but I think the fact that a jury chooses to point at this green finance for that and reward us with that motivation, I think shows that green finance really came up on the agenda this year.
I also would like to say on this picture as well. Oh, sorry. I had the opportunity to attend this award ceremony here, and there was a representative from the international WWF, and what they said about this, making Gothenburg to a true leader, they also said if you are nominated a true leader, you also have to be a leader. And that's what you're really bad at here in the north, because you're very good at what you're doing, but you don't tell anyone. So what you think is a sort of a nice shyness that we do, they see as an arrogance. Why don't you tell us? You have all the kinds of solutions, but you don't say a word. And that was one of the best things we actually took with us from that ceremony. That try to share your knowledge as much as you can all the time. And that's what we've been doing, and trying to help as many issuers or whatever it might be with all the documentation and information that we have. Can we help someone? We try to answer the questions all the time.
And I think that's something apart from working with the green bonds. I think that the financial sector, if anybody here comes from the environmental sector, we are even worse at actually being proud of what we do. And if we're proud of what we do, we also tend to spread the word. That's something that we need to learn from them for sure.
So I think this final slide here will symbolize also the development here that we have experienced during this 4 years we have been doing this. This is from a small idea that started here in the Treasury Department and together with the colleagues from the United Nations COP conference last year here, when we received the UN Climate Solutions Award. And sort of, I had the opportunity also to represent the city of Gothenburg at 3 United Nations COP conferences. And the first one, they more or less had to force me to go to, because they had some just observation. Is this something that we shall take part in? What do we have to do here? Can we learn something? Can we do something? And on the second one, we started to be even better here. We hosted an event at the COP 2021. It was well attended. It was about green bonds. It was a lot of in the audience there and a lot of questions. We also made a lot of new contacts there. And this year, when we were actually invited by the United Nations as an award winner here to receive this, and we also took part in a lot of panels here, and to sort of spread the word about green bonds or green finance in that way. And they also see a quite shift in the sentiment here from being something that you don't talk about on a climate conference to be one of the categories that you actually hand out rewards here to the participants. Is really cool, what I think. And yeah, if you want to say something more about that.
I think we're going to cut it short,
Yeah.
and you can just go to our future.
Yeah, the future, what we see so far, we have issued 4 green bonds, and we see a huge demand from investors. The demand from investor is bigger in a green bond than an ordinary bond, and we have tend to come back to the market here in June. We have financed around 12% of our outstanding debt so far, and our mission is to increase that and at a high pace as possible. So thank you very much for listening.